leaps spanning 26 semitones, wrist velocities past 1200 degrees per second. These are not specifications for a machine. They are the measured demands certain piano scores place on the human body, works that even elite performers call impossible to play. But impossible is a feeling, not a fact. And when you replace it with data, what emerges is far stranger than difficulty. Notes per second sets the pace, how many separate attacks a pianist must deliver in just 1 second. Peak notes per second captures explosive bursts, as in the opening of Balakirev's Islamey, where the right hand can exceed 12 notes per second. Sustained notes per second tracks the average over several seconds, and when both peak and sustained rates climb, mistakes and fatigue multiply. Chord density shifts the challenge from speed to force. It measures how many notes must be struck at once per hand per beat. Dense chords, like those in Rachmaninoff's concertos, demand strength and finger independence, leaving little room for error. Handspan width is the physical stretch between the farthest keys a hand must cover at once. Most can reach an octave or ninth, but passages demanding 12 or 14 semitones force many to reposition or risk injury. Span matters more than most listeners realize. Leap distance is the horizontal jump between notes or chords. Leaps spanning 2 octaves or more require speed and precision, often in less than a quarter second. The greater the leap, the higher the chance of missing entirely. Endurance Index quantifies how long a performer can sustain above 85% of peak demand without breaking down. Some works stretch this window beyond what even professionals can manage. Endurance separates the playable from the punishing. Polyrhythmic layer count tracks how many independent rhythms must be coordinated at once. Ligeti's Etudes can demand 5 or more, each with its own pulse. Polyrhythm forces the brain to track multiple clocks simultaneously. Real-time accuracy measures the percentage of correctly timed notes within a 30 millisecond window. As demands rise, accuracy is the first to slip, marking the boundary between difficult and unplayable. Every claim about impossibility must be put to the test. That means turning the act of playing into data, quantified, time-stamped, and synchronized down to the millisecond. The backbone of this measurement pipeline starts with MIDI clocking. Each key attack and release is logged with 1 millisecond accuracy, capturing the raw flow of notes, chords, and silences as streams of digital events. But speed alone is not enough. Optical motion capture, running at 250 frames per second or higher, tracks every fingertip, wrist, and elbow in 3 dimensions. Markers on the dorsal hand and forearm reconstruct the choreography of leaps, stretches, and micro-adjustments. This is how leap distance and handspan are measured not as guesses, but as hard numbers, centimeters traveled, intervals spanned. Muscle effort and fatigue are mapped through surface electromyography. Electrodes placed on the forearm flexors and extensors record electrical activity at up to 2,000 times per second. Each surge in voltage reveals the muscular cost of holding a chord cluster or firing off a burst of octaves. Force sensing keys add another layer, logging the strength and velocity of every strike. This exposes not just which notes are played, but how much force is delivered and how that force shifts as fatigue sets in. All of these streams, MIDI, motion, electromyography, and force, are locked to a common timeline using a TTL sync pulse. No event stands alone. Every keystroke, finger movement, and muscle twitch is mapped to the same clock. Catherine Leung, a leading authority on piano motor control, oversees the calibration and validation of these methods. This is how the limits of human and instrument are made visible, frame by frame, impulse by impulse. In a controlled lab trial, the demonstrator sits at a digital grand, hands braced for 60 seconds of relentless attack. Electrodes on the forearm capture every surge of muscle activity. Motion capture markers trace the path of each joint and finger. The task is to maintain maximum chord density, no breaks, no tempo drops. Within 20 seconds, the first signs of strain appear. Electromyography amplitude climbs rapidly, flexor and extensor muscles firing at 30 to 45% of maximal voluntary contraction. The wrist flexes and extends across a punishing 30 to 45 degrees, peaking at a velocity of 1,200 degrees per second on the hardest leaps. The data show a clear arc. As the trial unfolds, the median frequency of the electromyography signal drops by 8%, a textbook marker of muscular fatigue. By the 40-second mark, the demonstrator's accuracy drops. The force of each strike wavers. Chord clusters that began with crisp, even pressure now show tiny hesitations, barely visible to the eye, but obvious in the numbers. Catherine Leung, overseeing the session, confirms the pattern. This is the physiological wall, the point where muscle fibers begin to fail. Joint angles reach their safe limit, and control slips away. The cost of endurance and leaps is not theoretical. It is written into the body's own signals, captured in every millisecond of the trial. The numbers don't lie. What looks like a feat of pure willpower is actually a contest with biology, and the clock always wins. Each axis of piano difficulty has a work that pushes it to the limit. Balakirev's Islamey is a test of raw velocity and spatial reach. In its opening, the right hand surges past 12 notes per second, demanding relentless bursts for 9 seconds straight. The left hand pivots across a 31 semitone gulf, 2.5 octaves, in a single leap. Most hands cannot span this distance without rapid repositioning, and even the best risk missing the mark. Liszt's La Campanella turns the leap itself into the main event. Here, the right hand jumps 26 semitones, again and again, each time landing on a single note with only milliseconds to adjust. The repeated note motif can spike to 14.2 notes per second, forcing the pianist to rebound with perfect timing. The margin for error shrinks to the width of a fingertip. One slip, and the bell, like illusion, shatters. Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3 is a marathon of endurance and density. In the cadenza, 15.4 notes per second hammer out over 12 seconds, layered with 4 note block chords that demand power and independence from every finger. The hands must hold their shape through a barrage of attacks, never dropping below the threshold for control. Ligeti's Etudes shift the struggle from muscles to mind. Etude No. 2 unleashes a right-hand tremolo at 13.5 notes per second, while the left hand navigates a 3-4 polyrhythm, 2 rhythmic worlds colliding, each demanding focus. In these moments, the brain's working memory is stretched to its limit. Neuroscientist Charles Lim says the cognitive load in these passages is as extreme as anything we see in music, and the brain is juggling multiple timelines at once. Together, these works prove that every metric measured in the lab, speed, leap, density, endurance, polyrhythm, lives and breathes in real music. Each piece forces the body and mind to the edge in its own way. She uses arm weight transfer, letting gravity drive the attack so her fingers stay loose even at blistering speeds. This technique shifts the load from small muscles to the whole arm, cutting strain and keeping her tone clear. Lang Lang, tackling Rachmaninoff's block chords, relies on large-scale forearm rotation. His wrists pivot and his elbows float, absorbing shock and spreading force across joints. The result is powerful chords that ring out without locking up his hands. Daniil Trifonov in Ligeti's dense Etudes makes constant micro-adjustments. Each wrist angle, each fingertip landing, recalibrates in real time to handle rapid-fire polyrhythms. These strategies, arm weight, rotation, landing finesse, aren't just stylistic quirks. They are mechanical solutions, honed for survival at the edge of what's playable. Segmented practice breaks the impossible into manageable pieces. Instead of running a full passage at tempo, elite pianists loop a single bar, slow it down, and repeat until accuracy is flawless. This is the segment loop drill. Each fragment is rehearsed in isolation, then stitched back into the whole. The tempo ladder comes next. Start at 60% of the target speed, then climb in 5% steps, only moving up when every note lands clean. Endurance is built with recovery intervals. After 12 minutes of high-intensity work, step away for 2 minutes. Research led by Aaron Williman confirms that fatigue-aware scheduling preserves accuracy and prevents breakdown, even under extreme demand. These strategies transform the act of practice from brute repetition into a system, one that lets the body and mind recover, adapt, and ultimately master what once seemed unplayable. Every note in Balakirev, Liszt, Rachmaninoff, or Ligeti dares the body to fail. Yet Yuja Wang, Lang Lang, and Daniil Trifonov prove mastery lies not in speed, but in control under pressure. Today, the true frontier isn't velocity, it's precision at the brink of chaos. The challenge endures.